And then I said to the bus driver,
No, you ate my avocados.
"Hi, I'm John, and this week I DM'd the producer of one of my favourite TV shows, and he replied."
And I'm John, and I'm not really a cartographer at all.
And I'm not John, and this week I made a fake Twitter account of John's favourite producer and replied to one of his DMs. This is Would John Rather, a podcast where we ask Johns would they rather questions every couple of weeks, because otherwise I'm answering questions and the format doesn't work. I hope you've missed us in the past week. It's been a long month leading up to Halloween. It's still not quite here. We're all waiting in heavy anticipation for our Halloween special next week, aren't we, Johns?
Obviously, because after
Definitely.
spooky season it's Christmas.
And everybody hates Christmas, so it's all downhill from there. So let's make the most of it before the year is ruined by that fateful season. I promise all our listeners, if you're a fan of Christmas, I wouldn't listen to us in December because I will be being mostly negative.
I plan on winning a lot, and I plan on making every episode Christmas.
I've
Would you
already
rather, a
eaten.
flying reindeer or an elf?
I've already eaten 8 mince pies.
Today or while we've been recording?
This week.
Oh, and it's only Tuesday.
Well, I'm counting the week as in the last 7 days.
Oh, okay. Does your mince pie intake exponentially increase the closer you get to Christmas?
Exponentially increases 8 per week to
16
goodness
per week.
knows.
However, is there a positive correlation? And then when you hit Christmas, is it then a negative correlation as you go down a way, or is it just a flat stop? Midnight, Christmas Day, no more mince pies.
I'd say it probably peaks around November, then decreases as I get closer to Christmas because I spend a lot more time drinking and eating other things.
And is it the same with hot cross buns?
I was going to say about hot cross buns. I passed a man in the supermarket the other day, and all he had in his trolley was 8 packets of hot cross buns and 3 bottles of wine. I wanted to comment and be like, "Oh, they're having a party out." No, what are you even on about? I couldn't think of anything to like bring up conversation, and then I realised that if I had a crazy basket of stuff, I probably wouldn't want people to point out how fucking weird it was.
I mean, the moment I know you said you passed a man, so I'm assuming you don't know him. But in my head, you walked past Luke. And I'm
Possibly
gonna
not, because they were more than 3-pound bottles of wine.
fair enough. I'm gonna leave his name in, not edit it out, and I'm also not going to expand for the audience who Luke is. You can form your own opinions, folks. Anyway, we'll dive right
Tell
in.
you is that he will never listen to this episode.
I don't think he even knows what a podcast is.
I don't think he knows who I am anymore.
Anyway, we'll dive right in. Would you rather live in an undersea community or an in-air community? So
Undersea.
something. Okay, you understand.
Just you jump right in, and so I have to expand without having had the chance to consider.
This is how it goes with me and you.
Right, well, I'd rather live in a... Was it a community in the sky, did you say?
Yeah, essentially, so either a city that's like held up by some form of balloons or something like that, or a city that lives in not a vacuum, but an air pocket underneath the sea. So you can't breathe underwater. You just live in a community that happens to live in a pocket underneath the sea.
Oh man, I was going to hope I was going to be Aquaman. I was quite seeing myself as Jason Momoa. 'Cause
No.
he's possibly the coolest man on the planet.
No, think the BioShock games.
See, I'd rather live in the sky because living at that high altitude means that you would
You're constantly
develop...
delirious.
Well, temporarily, until your body adapts and builds a lot more hemoglobin.
How many
And then-
thousand feet up are you?
I don't know. Doesn't really matter, does it?
30.
Well, yes. 30, you're dead.
No, 30 feet.
30 feet.
Right, so you're living in a 3rd-story apartment
No,
in a community where there's no stairs to get down.
no, he's far enough away from the ground that it's a distance that he couldn't easily get to the ground. And the same with you underwater. It's far enough away that you couldn't just swim up to the surface, but not
Okay.
far enough away that the pressure either way is going to affect you to a dangerous level.
Why would I want to come up to the surface when I live in the lost city of Atlantis? It's like the ultimate hipster hideout. Like, you've heard of it? Oh, right, yeah, you can't come here because we're completely off the grid. And I'm imagining the treasures and the wonders that would be in the city that no one's ever found. And how cool it is. Yeah, we may not have Wi-Fi, but everything's made of gold and pearls, and everyone's got pet dolphins.
How are the pet dolphins going to live in your bubble of air?
Because there's a lagoon in the middle of it. Otherwise, how do you get to the pocket of air?
Oh,
And
so you're basically doing like a SeaWorld type thing where you're holding these precious mammals against their will, Shamu style.
Dolphins are smart enough. If they didn't want to be there, they'd escape.
Like in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, they're actually so long
Exactly.
and thanks for all the fish.
Yeah, just, do the flipper thing where they do a couple barrel rolls in the air, then just disappear into space. If they didn't want to hang around with us, they wouldn't, because they are very clever little blighters. And I couldn't imagine a hawk being so friendly and like talking to you and performing on demand.
Maybe the crows, though. Those guys are clever. Ravens and...
The smartest thing they've ever done is they've learned how to stand on top of the edge of a bin and then pull the bin liner until all the contents of the bin is on the floor. So you're saying your Skytopia is going to be very, very littered.
No, I read a story the other day, a couple of them, about how smart certain animals were, and they kept coming up with ravens and crows, because obviously you must have seen the YouTube videos where they've taught them tricks and things and set up puzzles so they can get fed. And there was this guy, and everything on the internet's true, we all know that, but there was this guy that one day this crow was just like sat on his perch on the patio with an empty packet of cigarettes, and the guy took it off of him, and he just happened to have some bread or whatever in his hand, so he just gave the crow some bread. And then over the couple of days later, he came back home, and there was a few empty packets of cigarettes on his porch, and this crow was just hanging around nearby. So he went and got some bread for this crow, just because he was like, oh, crow friend. And exponentially, that word again, that's my word of the week. Every day he'd come back and more empty cigarette packets and cigarette butts were on his patio.
Moral of the story, do not make friends with crows.
The crow was trading cigarettes for food, and then this crow started training its children to bring cigarette packets to this thing because it was a form of trade.
Yeah, so we're going to utilise this crow trade to build the biggest community
of smokers
that the sky has ever seen.
Out of fag packets.
Well, not necessarily out of fag packets. We can train them to fetch whatever we fancy.
A breeze block. Yeah, a crow's going to bring you back a breeze block. That's really useful.
They might bring us messages from other communities. But anyway, I was telling you about all the hemoglobin that I was going to develop living up in the sky. And then I'll actually, when we occasionally go visit other communities that aren't in the sky, I'll be like some sort of superhuman. You know how athletes go and train at altitude and then they come down for the Olympics and they're really good. And everyone goes, oh, it's because they've been training at altitude. That'll be my life. I will sort of do like some little jogs up in the sky and then I'll come down to Earth and I'll be able to run marathons on the same amount of training. It's going to be phenomenal. I'm going to be king of the Earth.
Because you can run. Why isn't Mo Farah part of the monarchy? Because he runs pretty good.
I mean, he's just part. He is just the underground, the secret government.
He's part of the monarchy.
I love that. I'd love it if his wife was named Nikki.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll quickly Google it.
Okay, we're going to talk about my underwater Atlantis palace. In the meantime, in my air pocket, I can just imagine a big glass dome going.
His spouse is called Tanya.
Oh.
Any
I've lost the will to carry on with the episode now.
I mean, it's not as bad as you think because his name is their sort of joint name is Motanya, which is a bit like Britannia.
Which is more like Moana.
Motanya rules the waves.
Rules the distance running category. Yeah, so I was thinking Moana. that's a pretty good film. Neither of you two have got children, so you've probably not watched it. But it's I'm going to put this out there. It's better than Frozen, and Moana and Maui have to go into the Monster Kingdom, which is under the sea, and it's all pretty cool. It's a little bit Avatar-esque with the bioluminescence and all the cool stuff hanging out down there. And there's this massive crab monster called Tamatoa, and it's voiced by Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords, and he does the whole thing in his Bowie impression, and it's magical. It's simply wonderful. So if I've got him as a neighbour, that'd be pretty cool. Having a giant mega crab the size of a block of flats.
You do have
singing David Bowie songs.
You do have a lot of plastic microparticles surrounding you as well.
I'm going to recycle them. Have fun in your pollution.
I saw
and your acid rain.
Just going back to your Moana thing, just because I figured you might enjoy it. I saw one of these screenshots of like an online conversation, and someone's put, "I just said I am Moana of Motunui. You killed my father. Prepare to die." And it actually took me a few seconds to realise that's not right. So someone else replied, "My name is Inigo Montoya. You will board my boat, sail across the world, and return the heart of Te Fiti." To which a third person replied, "My name is Moana Montoya. You will board my father, prepare to sail, and die."
Oh, I like that.
I thought you would. So anyway, as you were, sorry, particles.
I'm gonna recycle them. I'm gonna use them as part of my mortar mix as my aggregate. So I'm not that bothered. It's going to be more beneficial for me to have lots of plastic that's going to be recycled. And part of my Biodome Dolphin Sanctuary Underground Palace Fort.
And turtles that are choking on plastic bags.
No, because I will save the turtles because they'll be just out my window.
Kind of interesting that we've got rid of plastic straws because we don't want to kill the turtles, and yet the best way to see the turtles is by using oversized plastic straws as snorkels.
I think the amount of straws I've used compared to the amount of snorkels I've used is quite lopsided. I think I've used about 6 different snorkels in my life. I've used many straws.
Yeah, but it's such a price to pay. Paper straws are awful.
They are. They now do stainless steel straws, which I'm thinking about investing in.
Yeah, they existed in the 80s as well, and they were for snorting cocaine.
No, I thought those rolled up $20 bills.
No, the proper professional cocaine addicts had little metal straws they carried around with them.
Tell me more, Matthew, about your 80s cocaine habits.
Oh,
When you were 1.
I wasn't even 1 in the 80s. I didn't turn 1 till 1990.
That's a good point. So when you were 6 months old on your first cocaine binge.
Yep.
In Huntingdon.
Yeah.
Classiest of all London overspill towns in East Anglia.
I used metal straws to take my cocaine because I cared about the turtles.
Good. And that's why you.
And also, all this shit about let's get rid of plastic because we care about the animals. We've just turned all of our fucking money plastic.
Yeah, but no one throws money away, dickhead.
No, we just produce it every year.
And we're going to hold on to it. What better way of making a plastic product, making it and keeping it forever rather than disposing of it? Because it's the single-use things that are clogging up the world. So if you're going to make something out of plastic, people are going to want to hold on to it, so it's not going to enter the ecosystems.
Oh no, I agree with the purpose. I don't disagree with that. It's just frustrating as a user of straws. It makes my drinks and cocaine in paper straws taste weird.
I've got another little light on disposing and dropping of things. When John's in his cloud base and he drops something and it falls over the edge, that's it. He's never getting it back. If I wait long enough, the ocean currents will draw it towards my Atlantean paradise, and I'll take his GoPro that he's lost after he's finished hang gliding or hill running, and then I'll put it on my computer, and there'll be lots of pictures from his holidays, and I will have them, and he won't.
Yeah, there is that to say that with living underwater, as global warming takes hold, it won't be your domain unless you'd figured out. Well, we'll start with this thought process. Your domain is going to get bigger. However, It's going to be easier for John to come up with ways to explore the sky than it is for you to explore the ocean.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the sky.
There's lots of good views
of water when Waterworld happens. Oh, what you see over there? Blue. Ah, John. What can I see? I can see reefs. I can see kelp beds. I can see sandbars.
Right.
I can see the drop off. I can see the barracuda. I can see Nemo's family getting eaten.
Yeah, but you can only see as far as your horizon can. Well, I guess the same is for both of you, because in reality, you can't really travel too far away before you have to come back. You're kind of stuck there, aren't you, really?
You're stuck in both circumstances.
Your choice is if you want to try and escape. Would you rather drown or splat?
But you've just told us that we can't escape.
Exactly.
Because John is higher than a 3-story building.
I mean, the only thing would be, maybe not for yourselves, but for your, like, great grandkids, over evolution, John could always breed giant birds to ride on the back of, whereas if you trained and bred sea turtles, there's only so far that you can breathe. Well, you can't breathe underwater. It's much more difficult to invent that technology, I guess.
We have it. You're talking to the man that actually has a scuba diving license.
Yeah, but how far can you get on that one tank?
You can take several tanks with you.
Still limited.
If you do stage stop, you could get to the surface at some point in time.
My main concern with living underwater is that eventually you're going to meet Elon Musk in his submarine. He's just going to be going around in his little submarine going, "Pedo!"
I'd be worried that Elon Musk was joining the Tesla flying car thing, and then you'd only be able to get around using his technology. And then you'd be minding your own business, and then one of his rockets just plows through your house with the newest convertible, like, inside of it. Nothing else. Elon, why have you done that? Well, 'cause I'm just going to send my roadster around Jupiter. Sorry that your house was in the way. Couldn't see it. You're in a cloud after all. And then you'll curse him. You say, "You'll pay for this." And he went, "How? All my plastic money's in the ocean now. And John's really rich." I know this is a little bit off topic. I know this is sort of what we specialise in. But Matt, you lived in America for a little bit. Why is all their money the same, well, pretty much the same colour and all the same size?
Because it's a ridiculous country filled with ridiculous people.
Okay, I'm good with that.
They hate blind people.
No, it's... I asked the question when I was over there, and nobody cared. And I think we only care because we've got it different.
And it's sensible.
It is, but only because if all of our money was the same colour, the same shape, and the same size, then we wouldn't know any better, so it's never really occurred to them, I don't think. And for a country the size of America to rebrand their money, it's going to cost a hell of a lot of money to do so. So they're kind of in too deep, I guess. But to be honest,
have you seen how they've edited their $100 bills to make them less easy to forge?
No.
Someone's gone on Microsoft Word, and used one of the word art fonts and just written 100 and then copied and pasted it onto the picture of a $100 bill. It's so cartoony and so pathetically done. It makes me want to cry. It's like someone in the White House has gone, we need to make money harder to forge, and then someone else has gone, yeah, I'll do that for you, with no design ideas whatsoever, and just done it, and then a third person's gone, yeah, I'll sign that off. You've worked hard on that.
That sounds like the Trump White House.
Right, we're digressing a little bit, so I'm going to make a decision, because we've just discussed and yet to come to a conclusion for 20 minutes about this. In the edit, guys, don't worry, I'll make sure it's about 4 minutes long. I'm unsure. I'm really torn because I don't really see a benefit to either. Why not just live on the ground?
Because that wasn't an option.
Okay, I'm going to go with living in the sky just because I'm more scared of what we don't know and what we do know that lives in the ocean than what lives in the sky. I'm pretty sure majority of the birds I could take, whereas there's a lot that lives in the ocean that I couldn't take in a fight. And we've already discussed in previous weeks how I'd lose in a fight to the Queen, let alone a giant squid, or a barracuda, or a great white shark.
Marlin.
Well, the only birds that I'm scared of are landlocked. I wouldn't take on an emu, but unfortunately emus can't fly, so...
What about having one of Elon Musk's shuttles plough through your house? You wouldn't win a fight with that.
No, but if it depends on your underwater habitat as to whether one of his submarines plows into your biodome that's keeping all the air in before you flood and drown. So I think based on those two reasons, living up in the air wins.
Yay!
And also on a side note, I preferred the later Bioshock games that were based in the air than the ones based in the underwater. There's a bit less of a horror theme to them, which scared me, to be honest. Which is going back to my original reason, so...
The sea is a scary place.
It is. That's why NASA is spending all their money on exploring the space and the undersea, because they know what's there and they're scared. They're trying to escape.
I think that's fair.
So, that summarises that. If you disagree and would rather live under the sea, like Ariel and Flounder, do message me at WoodJRather. Let me know. What the hell is that?
I was hoping when it said Twitter time, and then I was going to play my sound effects and have you go, oh, there's one that John prepared earlier, and you were quite proud of me. But you just sounded terrified. All this hard work I give you, and you just sound disgusted and slightly worried.
It sounded like...
Let me count you in. 3, 4. It's Twitter time!
Nope, terrifying still.
What is wrong with you?
It sounded like a far-off siren informing me that the Blitz has began.
Let's try something more friendly.
It sounds like... It sounds like we're living in your underground water biodome and there is a far-off whale trying to communicate with us.
Whales are beautiful.
They are beautiful. Right. Stop it and tell people how to communicate with you.
Right, you can contact me at John Would Rather. No H's today because they don't appear in sheet music.
And you can contact me by sending a messenger sloth.
You're really scraping the barrel now, aren't you, John?
That's not even a thing.
A messenger
the last
sloth.
20 weeks have been something that real world people use. No one uses messenger sloths.
Yet.
Are you starting a trend?
Yeah. It's going to be like
sloths from Amazon, and you've got to put them to work.
It's going to be
like put to work that talking monkey last week.
It's going to be like Twitter, but better. Because I think the problem with Twitter is it's too fast. It's too on demand. You know, you say something and someone instantly abuses you back. Whereas with a messenger sloth, it takes time. You've got to be patient.
Twitter's named after the noise that a bird makes. So what bird does a sloth make to make messenger sloth into a bit more catchy, a bit more marketable?
Do you know what noise a sloth makes for its mating call?
No.
Female sloth is just hanging out in her tree, and to attract a mate, she just screams continuously until a male sloth turns up. Sounds like Newcastle.
I was about to say it sounds like Huntingdon.
No.
That's just the equivalent of just
underpasses.
Going out into the street and screaming at the top of your voice, "Fuck me," and then just keep repeating it until someone comes along and fucks you.
Let's get slothed.
I'm not sure how effective or efficient that would be. If it was the social norm, then possibly.
I'll be honest, when I thought of this method of communication, I wasn't thinking about efficiency.
Obviously.
Fast forward 5 weeks and John finds a sloth hanging off the railings outside his house with a letter or a scroll with a wax stamp on it, and he opens it up and it's just one of his fans, and inside in lipstick is just scrawled, "Fancy a shag?"
I thought you were going to say, "No, your mum." Because that's about as original as the internet is. Right, this is getting ludicrous. Matt, what is the main Twitter?
I've already done that bit.
Oh, sorry, I was too busy fiddling with my guitar.
This just portrays our podcast so well that not even do we not listen to our own podcast, but we don't even pay attention when we're recording it. That is.
Put my headphones down. My guitar's across the other side of the room.
You didn't have to. You didn't have to get your guitar. No one appreciated you getting your guitar, and you didn't do anything productive or interesting with your guitar.
John loved it.
You played the one note song. You didn't even invent that. That was Tenacious D.
Do you not appreciate the cover of the One Note song that I played for you?
No.
Oh, there's no pleasing some people.
No, there's not.
Next question.
Would you rather there were I couldn't decide out of the 3 questions which to ask. Pick a number, 1, 2 or 3.
4.
Okay, well that takes you back to 1. Okay. Would you rather there were more red things or more blue things?
When you say things, just like everything?
Just in general.
I'd rather there were more blue things, because sometimes, very occasionally, someone goes to me, "Oh, that's a nice blue shirt. It really brings out your eyes."
I want more red things so I can redecorate my house, and then John will clash with every single room, and everyone will think less of him for it.
Does he spend that much time at your house that would severely impact your life?
No, but it would mean I could get to redecorate my house. I think all but 2 of the rooms of my house are green.
But that's a choice. There are enough things out there that even if there were more red things, that doesn't mean you have to purchase them to go in your house. You can still avoid them.
Not when you live in a house that's got loads of green things in it, and blue is one of the 2 colours that make green. So by proxy, I would quite like more red things in my house.
I think also the world is...
Hang on, sorry, John. But this just makes me sound like you had no say in the decoration of your house whatsoever.
I don't.
Oh,
You know.
okay.
You know where I live.
Right, okay, so you just wish there was less blue in the world, so there'd be less green things, so the options... So this isn't necessarily you prefer red, you just want less green, and green being a product of blue. Right, okay. So you're passively aggressively, through our podcast, telling your wife to stop decorating your house green.
We've got a system in the house. If anything needs to happen to the wall, it needs to be sanded, shelves need to be put on it, light switches need to be sorted out, things need to be hung from the ceiling. That's my department. What goes on the walls, colour-wise, is all my wife.
It sounds like you've got a system in your house where you express your opinion, she expresses her opinion, you have a discussion, and then you go with what she's decided.
You know the key to a happy marriage. Why aren't you married already?
Happy wife, happy life.
Fair enough.
See, you get,
And my favourite part about this is you've expressed your love of a shed way in like episode 7, and to get to your shed, which presumably is one of the few places you get to decorate, you have to walk through your green garden as well.
Yeah, but the grass can't help being green. It just is. You know what I mean?
No.
Let's talk about red.
There's a reason
Red is the colour of passion and love and fire and desire
and blood and death.
Yeah, that as well. let's talk about blue and sad and cold
and poor.
No.
More lively. Like blood is red. That's exciting. That's interesting. Keeps us alive. Makes you feel alive. And there has actually been a scientific study saying that the teams that wear red kits tend to be more aggressive and tend to win more than blue. So if you're going to say blue's going to win, you'd just be trying to be different for the sake of it. And that would be a hollow victory in John's account as well as mine.
I mean, I don't want to talk about football, but of the teams that wear blue, I can think of a couple which are quite good and normally win. But anyway, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to talk about is how...
You can't name them.
Manchester City, Chelsea...
No, what makes them good is not the colour of the shirts, but the people with the huge checkbooks, which are probably bound in like ox blood leather.
Which kind of goes to prove that your theory on the teams that wear red against the teams that wear blue is possibly skewed.
It's skewed because of rich Russians
who like blue. Anyway,
who like buying cheap football clubs.
You were talking about how red is more lively, but it's also much more aggressive. There's a reason that bullfighters fly a red flag. It's because red just brings out the worst in aggressive society. Blue's a much more soothing colour. It calms people down. And I think the world would be a lot more civilized if the walls were A nice shade of blue to help calm you down.
Cold and sterile. That's what we all want.
I mean, the colours to me represent anger and depression. So you've got your two emotions that kind of sum it up, really.
What about passion? Red is like passionate. It's the colour of roses. It's the colour of strawberries.
When
strawberries
the
are an aphrodisiac.
When the sky's red, then it's probably winter and it's cold, and also it's nearly night time. Whereas when the sky is blue, people are happy. They're outside. They're excited and running around, frolicking. People love a blue sky. Red sky, they're tucking up for bed, getting ready for bed.
Snuggles with your wife, etc. Know what I mean? Get the champers are nice. Get the strawberries out. Get the red silk duvet on. You know.
Bit of blue for the dad.
Bit of blue for the dad.
Yeah, blue.
We shouldn't say a bit of blue for the dad. We should say a bit of blue for the husband. Really, that's poor phrasing on our part.
Yeah, quite. You know, it's a quite cool thing that that some people like. Fire engines, they're red. I'd like more of those in the world, because if there were no fire engines and my house went up in flames, then I'd be very sad. That would make me blue. Blue's rubbish. So lots more fire engines is a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
With blue flashing lights.
One love.
So, red and blue flashing lights.
Mother's pride, one love.
Yes, as I said, the world needs less blue.
No, the world needs more 90s pop.
Did you really just say that?
The world is a simpler place, a better place.
You hate 90s pop.
John hates any pop.
Not as much as I hate 20s, 2000s and 2010s pop. 90s pop, I could go to the primary school disco.
And see 99 red balloons.
99 Krieg Minska, Streichholzern Minska. Something like that.
See?
Well, you sang that in German, and that's just made me think that red's the colour of communism.
Yes, that's true. That is also true.
Thing is, as a principle, communism isn't a bad idea. It's just, unfortunately, in the real world, people are greedy, and they ruin it and skew it, and they don't give back to the hard-working people at the bottom. So, in practice, it isn't great, but the idea of everyone putting in and getting back and getting along and all working towards a greater Mother Russia is, it's a beautiful idea. But
something's only a good idea if it works.
Yeah,
like the tube.
Theory versus practice is always a big debate.
You know what? That's a bit of blue sky thinking, and it's just not panned out. So maybe we should be more realist. You know what's cool? Ferraris. Ferraris are red. More of those in the world. Imagine if everyone drove a Ferrari.
But they don't have to be red.
Well, they do.
And actually, isn't it Lamborghinis that are supposed to be red? And Ferraris are classically yellow.
No, other way around.
No, I'm sure that's a misconception.
You're a misconception.
No, it was just a conception.
Immaculate. Right, well, that's all I've got to say on the matter.
You didn't even name one blue thing apart from the sky, which you actually also said was red.
It is interesting, John, that you picked red after saying that you'd rather live under the ocean, where you would see nothing red.
That's why I want to see more of it.
Because you haven't seen it in so long.
I've not seen it in 20 years. Why am I Patrick Stewart?
You might see red sea anemones.
True.
Dumbo squid are red, but they're also very rare.
I am struggling because I was hoping that there'd be some imagination in the answers to this question, because I deliberately made it a shit one, hoping that you'd bring something to it. And we did just talk about what colour things are for 10 minutes. And
a bit of blue for the husbands.
Very in the box thinking, so I was disappointed in both of you. So I'm going to go with red just so that there's some urgency to the last question.
And John named one thing that he'd like to see more of, which was blue skies.
Yeah.
And I named at least 3.
I mean, I was really hoping... I thought of this halfway through, so it wasn't like it was premeditated. But I was really hoping that with the red, you were going to go because you wish people were more well-read. That would have been a good answer. But you didn't come up with it. But I'm going to award you it anyway and just pretend that you did.
So good as enough reason as any.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I'm back in charge, folks.
Benevolent.
Okay. I'm going to save. Got 2 questions that I'm torn between, but I'm going to save you for the future because I just am. So, final question. Are you ready, John?
Yes.
Are you ready, John?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, wait.
I genuinely looked at your pictures and thought you'd answer the other way round, so more for me. Would you rather have to regularly misuse items or misuse words?
I'd rather misuse words because if you're having a conversation with someone and you misuse the words, they could stop and pause and look at you weirdly, and you go, "What did I say?" And they said, "Oh, you said pass me the teaspoon," and you actually meant
Baby.
32 teeth jigsaw, and I was like, "Oh, obviously, yeah, sorry, the slip of the tongue." Whereas if you try and brush your teeth with a hacksaw, that could probably end up a little bit worse. I wouldn't want to misuse things.
Sorry, this question just blew me away for a second. I'd much rather misuse things because all manner of hilarity could ensue.
All manner of injuries, both major and minor.
It doesn't have to necessarily be things being misused in a deadly fashion.
I'm going to drive to work through the air. Oh no, that didn't work. Sorry, my bad. Who says I have to say something embarrassing? I could just do spoonerisms, and everyone would be like, "Oh, you know that John, always thinking 3 steps ahead, can't even say 2 words correctly in the sentence."
I think misusing words can be just as dangerous if
I'm not a world
you
leader.
Think about it.
Why would it be dangerous?
Well, you might go into a group of people, say something accidentally offensive because you've misused the words, and then they beat you up or stab you because you.
Okay, right. The leader of the free world, Donald Trump, said, and I quote, "The Russians definitely do have something to do with whatever it was." And then he had, I can't remember which political thing it was to do with, but then he had a meeting with Putin like 2 weeks later, and he said, when they reminded him, say, "Oh, they definitely had something to do with the rigging of the election," he said, No, that was a slip of the tongue. I meant to say definitely do not have anything to do with the hacking of Hillary Clinton and the rigging of the election. And everyone went, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's an easy mistake to make. You just missed out the word not." And he's still president. Deal with it. He said what, and then he claimed wholeheartedly he meant something else. And he got away with it, absolutely scot-free.
Aspiring to be Donald Trump.
Crazy man.
Aspiring to be Donald Trump is not on my to-do list.
And it's probably easier to get away with that in his position because obviously he's got spin teams and bodyguards. If you mean to say, "Oh, I really love peanut butter," and you accidentally say, "I really love Margaret," you haven't got a spin team and a bodyguard to protect you from that misunderstanding. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
One person called Margaret that isn't lovely.
Okay.
Someone's
I accidentally picked an old lady name and not an attractive young female name. That is my problem. That is my downfall, and that's my mistake. And I will live with it.
I'll forgive you for it.
You get a pass on that question. I'm not going to ask it. And John, if you try and follow that up and turn my point into a coherent one, I'm not taking that into account. The jury ignores that evidence. It's my mistake, and you have to pay the piper.
If you misused your laptop and forgot to record the podcast, there would have been some choice words for you that you could record.
You could also misuse some equipment and come up with a really ingenious new way of doing things because you've accidentally used them incorrectly, but it turned out that was better.
Matthew, are you a 19th century chemist? In your line of work, do you manage to mix many chemicals?
No, but that's not to say that alchemy's dead. John is correct in that point. He could definitely be trying to make dinner and accidentally create gold. That's how most scientific discoveries happen, through accidents.
Chemically, that's not possible. There is no way you can turn a pot noodle into gold.
That you
good
know
points
of.
for trying.
That you know of.
Sorry, that was a slip of the tongue. I didn't mean good try. I meant get a grip.
You cannot prove that it's impossible. The impossible is just what's not been done yet. That is a very defeatist attitude.
The best form of attack, no, the best defense is a good form of attack. So I'm just discrediting your water into wine, pot noodle into gold theory to try and say that everyone has a slip up in what they say every now and again. It's because we are only human, but misusing everyday objects, I think, would be very detrimental to my work, because I work with tools, and if I took an imperial spanner to a metric nut bolt, whatever, people would go, why are you doing that? Because there is a clear divide on where I work. The engine is imperial, the airframe is metric. So
Fortunately, I don't. Fortunately, I work in a place where that wouldn't matter.
However, he does work in a place where if he says something wrong, everything could go very wrong very quickly.
But then you just say that's not what I meant, and then correct yourself.
No, because I've already undermined the reputation of the entire organisation by that point.
Yeah, I just said words, so it could be in an email or in a letter or in a text. It doesn't have to be spoken.
That would be terrible for me.
I'm always fond of the phrase "actions speak louder than words." So if you go to the water cooler and you try and use your laptop to hold water so you can take it back to your desk for a drink, I believe all of your office are going to think you're some sort of special case, rather than you going, "Yeah, that's a great idea," and go, "Oh wait, no, I didn't mean that at all."
Okay, I think I get what you're both saying. I think the best thing to do now, because it is going to be quite funny for us, is let's try and think of two worst case scenarios, and because there's always going to be best case, let's think of some worst case scenarios for each, and whichever one we deem to be the worst one, I think that's going to have to be the loser. Would you agree that's a fair way of doing it?
Fine.
Are we taking the nuclear holocaust card off the table? Because that is my knee-jerk reaction to go with nuclear holocaust.
No, because neither of you could cause a nuclear holocaust by using the wrong object or the wrong words, unless you're succumbing to the alchemy-like thing of John's trying to make dinner and accidentally causes a nuclear explosion, which you just told me is impossible.
But then you told me that's very defeatist and I should lighten up. So you've given me 1 point already. My next one would be going back to our good friend to the podcast, Donald Trump, at POTUS, that John is minding his own business and he gets a visit from the head of America, because that always happens in London. It's not going to happen out here in the middle of nowhere. It's going to happen in London, and the security guard's going to feel a bit tired and a bit jet lagged. So he's going to put the football down. We all know what the football is, right?
No.
It is the nuclear launch code briefcase. And that always goes around with Donald Trump, with someone that's handcuffed to it. And John's going to go, oh, look, it looks like my business portfolio over there. So he opens it up. And he might accidentally misuse it and type in the launch codes and send off every nuke that America has. Well, that's worst case scenario. The other scenario is he goes to go and touch
realistically,
he goes to touch it because he thinks it's just a business portfolio. And then he gets shot.
See, in my worst case scenario, I'm thinking back to the Cuban Missile Crisis. It came down to brinkmanship between the President of the United States and the President of the USSR.
We're just going to go with me knowing what brinkmanship is. And yeah.
Saying the wrong thing at that time could have literally led to the end of the world. You know,
right, I need to go back 50 years and change the country I work for.
No, I'm just saying that saying the wrong thing can have much bigger consequences than just using the wrong thing once. Yeah. Because you can't, as much as you can cause damage with an object, you can't undo the hurt that words can do.
Right.
I'm sure all the people of Hiroshima are like take solace in that.
Right, guys.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, etc., etc.
John-
mute someone.
John and John, I said let's think of the worst scenario and let's brainstorm. You both agreed, and then you both came up with not worst case scenarios. You both went with unlikely situations that don't really directly apply to not even the question, but what we previously agreed, and both went straight to a president. So I'm going to come up with examples for you, and then I'm going to decide, because you clearly can't follow instructions. John, if you can't use...
Trump was visiting London.
And John
which is
happens to
possible.
bump into him and gets close enough to access the launch codes or even touch the briefcase. At that point, there is a serious flaw in the President of American security. And also...
John gets shot.
Yeah.
That's very sad.
Okay. Worst case scenario with items, John tries to change the TV channel by throwing his child at it. Boom. Worst case scenario. John, you say something very racist in front of someone that you shouldn't have done. That's the worst case scenario that I can think of.
And then I apologise to say that's not what I meant at all.
Yeah,
And then I go for sensitivity training,
but-
because that is an option that I should be given. I should be given the chance of being retrained.
but that
And
all
understanding
depends.
that my words actually have actions.
That all depends on
Because we
the
live in a
type-
fluffy nanny state, and everyone needs to be wrapped in.
Yeah,
cotton wool.
actually, I don't think nowadays, had it been maybe 10 years ago, saying something racist around someone who would have been offended by it was the worst case scenario. Nowadays, it's probably saying something sexist around someone who would be offended. That's a much worse thing to do.
Imagine the masterpieces that could have been made if Van Gogh had accidentally used a lipstick instead of a paintbrush.
Yeah, that's called modern art,
Yeah.
and that's awful. The majority of it is terrible. I mean, you both ran wild with this. I was thinking more you accidentally say, "Oh, pass me the umbrella," when you actually meant guitar, or you had to use the TV remote instead of a shoehorn, and this definitely went in a direction I didn't expect. But
You tell us every week to think big. And then you,
Yeah,
and then you
and-
told
and-
us, oh, red and blue was disappointing.
I told you to
I'm
think
not
big,
angry, I'm just
and-
disappointed.
and
I've
you
gone
both,
from being
you
red
both,
to being blue.
but you both went straight to presidency, and neither of you are or ever will be a president of a country, at least, maybe a club. You could be
Well, John's a
president.
congressman, so he's half.
And I could see you, John, as like the president of a Rotary Club or something.
I thought you were going to say Bowls Club, so I'll take Rotary Club. I'll take that one. Doesn't matter if you give John the win. I feel like I've won. I feel pretty good about today.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with. Oh, I think I'd rather use objects wrong, only because, and I'd like to think you can be subjective and agree. When I see people using the wrong things to do the wrong things, I think they're a bit of an idiot. When I hear people using the wrong words for the wrong things, I hate them. There's a difference between thinking they're an idiot and thinking that they're ignorant. And sometimes,
Yeah.
But being ignorant, you can fix by enlightening people. Being an idiot, it's like you can train not very clever, but you can't train stupid.
yeah, but you can educate stupid. You can't change ignorance.
No, you can change ignorance. That is the point. If I'm ignorant to something, it means I don't know about it.
No, but okay, but I don't care. John wins items.
Woo!
I still feel like I'm the real winner.
Because you're the president of the Bowls Club.
No! Rotary Club, get it right. Your membership can be revoked at this rate.
Sorry, I misspoke. See how dangerous it is, how painful it is.
I like the way you've not deliberately logged off the podcast, like group chat, to try and prove your point. Log off for me now. Accidentally. See how far that gets you.
I have no idea what we're talking about anymore.
Me neither.
Well, I've been John, and I think I need to rethink my 5-year plan if I'm going to be head of the Rotary Club.
Oh,
Why are you laughing at me?
and I've been John, and I'm no longer feeling blue.
And I've been Not John, and this has been Would John Rather, and we'll see you all Futon.
Can I ask a really important question? If somebody came to your door and said, "Do you like my pajamas?" and they're in a 3-piece suit, which one of those things have they done wrong? Have they misused an item, or have they misspoken?
Very good point.
Yeah, that is true.
Nothing, eat something. We want somebody to it.